Hello everyone, welcome back to Hospitality Intelligence and Analytics video series. In today's topic, we are going to talk about the SERVQual and how to measure them and how to understand how the SERVQual works. Before we start, just to be remember that from the service quality part, we talked about the service gaps, if you recall, that service quality isn't just about delivering what they want, but it's about meeting or exceeding the guest expectation. But however, there are usually gaps between what guest expects and what they actually receive. I mean, there are many service gaps. If you recall, we talked about these. There was a knowledge gap, standard gap, delivery gap, standards gap, delivery gap, communication gap, and perception gap. For today's practical exercise, we are going to focus on the perception gap. Perception gap was the mismatch between the service that is actually delivered and how guest perceives it. Once again, this is the important part, how they perceive it. Because in certain instances, let's say the hotel might meet all the service standards, but if the guest perception it could be still negative due to many reasons, many individual expectations, prior experiences, or even the small details we talked about, these like a body language, tone of voice, etc. And these are measured by using the rater approach: reliability, assurance, tangibleness, empathy, and responsiveness. If you want a little bit more information on this, you need to watch the maybe service quality video. Now, we expect a certain level of service whenever we interact with a business. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, where do these expectations actually come from? Okay, let's break this down. One of the most powerful influences is the word of mouth. Recommendations from family, friends, and even complete strangers on social media or online reviews shape how we perceive a service before we have even experienced it. Like a single 5-star review or a negative rant can set our expectations before we walk through the door. Next, we have a personal needs. Each of us has a unique preferences, priorities, and circumstances that shape our expectations. A business traveler checking into a hotel expects efficiency and high-speed Wi-Fi, for example, right? While family on a vacation might focus on spacious rooms and kid-friendly amenities. So our personal needs and context directly influences what we expect. Then there is a past experiences. Think about the last time you received outstanding service. Now compare that to a time when you were disappointed with the service. Those past interactions create a baseline for what you expect in the future. If hotel exceeded your expectation once, you'll likely expect the same level of service the next time you visit. Marketing also plays a role, like marketing communications, like advertisements, brand messaging, and social media presence help to shape our perception before service delivery. Businesses carefully craft their image to influence our expectation. It could be, if all the perceptions or all the marketing is about the luxury branding, but if you go down there is nothing about luxury, it's going to be disappointing, right? So, finally, the situational factors affect how we perceive service. Imagine you are catching a last-minute flight. You'll expect quick and efficient service, right? Or if you're on a tight budget, your expectation might shift toward getting the best value. So factors like time, culture, price sensitivity, there are many other things all impact what we anticipate from a service. Why do I expect this level of service? Is it because something I heard, something I need, something I experienced before? Then we need to ask ourselves, how do people perceive intangible service, right? Unlike a physical product, service is about experiences, interactions, and emotions. here's where we use SERVQual. By the way, there are also a lot of critics about the SERVQual, but for the sake of this course, we are just explaining what the SERVQual is, not getting into a lot of details. SERVQual is a model that helps to understand the gap between expectation and what customers actually experience. Before we do our exercise, I want you to understand there are like 3 levels of expectation, right? One is the exceed expectation, so delighted customer. This is a wow moment. The service goes beyond what was expected. These experiences build loyalty and positive word of mouth, but it could be not possible to do due to the return on investment and many resource scarcity. But if you can do it, it's great. Now the next one is the met expectations, so satisfied customer. This is where expectations and reality align. The service was good, but nothing extraordinary. It was what the customer anticipated, no surprises, just what was promised. This maintains satisfaction, but it doesn't necessarily create strong emotional and loyalty. But still, this is the baseline, basically. Then the poor service, disappointed customers. This is where the gap appears. The customers expected a certain level of service but received something far below it. It could be check-in was slow, the restaurant food was cold, staff seemed indifferent. There are many things. So when service fails to meet expectations, dissatisfaction spreads quickly, especially in today's digital world where customers share their experiences instantly. So the question is, how does your business close the gap? However, before we can talk about that, the first is let us focus on how to measure this gap. So that's what today's topic is about. Now, this is an example I did. First thing is, you remember the rater, we talk about the rater, right? There is a 22 questions measures to rater. Like, for example, in tangibles, these are some of the questions. The hotel will modern looking, high quality facilities. The hotel's physical appearances will be visually appealing. First questions are for the expectation. So you expect the hotel staff will be well groomed and professional dressed. Then there is a perception, right? Yeah, you expect that, but what about the perception? Like, hotel staff will be well groomed and professional dressed. Then they ask the question, the hotel staff was well groomed and professional dressed. Then you ask these questions to people before and after, of course, and they answer between like 1 to 5, right? Agree or disagree. After this, I look at this here. We gathered from 99 people these answers, right? They rated your questions. These are the expectation questions. So what was the first question? The hotel will have modern looking and high quality facilities. It sees that first guest expected that, things like that. So first thing is what we do for the expectations after we be sure data is clean, everything is the way it's supposed to be. We get the averages of each question. Okay, this is a very simple task. Basically, you look at calculate all the averages for all the expectation questions. So you do the same thing for the perception questions, right? For example, this person was expecting a modern looking and high quality facilities, but it seems got 4. Basically, perception was a little bit lower than what they got. So you do the same thing, you calculate the averages, then we start our calculations. What we do is, I just put the expectation questions here to see what kind of questions out there. I copy pasted expectation questions. If you don't know how, but just give you here, like for example, you get this, you copy, come here. Initially you need to do this, then you copy again, and you come here and turn it around, right? Basically transpose. Now, of course, to look like nicer, what I did was after that, I make it number with the 2 decimal places. Now, we know the expectations, we know the perceptions, averages of each questions. Now, like I said, we got the expectations and perception. Next step is getting the perception expectation gap. So what you do is you get the perception minus the expectation, you got the gaps here. Okay, then you calculate all of these. I just make the negative ones red. That is why the only difference I added here. Now the next step after that, you want to calculate the Y rank, which is the basically expectations, right? Then you want to do the X rank. So how we do this? If you can look at here, this is the command we use, rank.eq. I mean, it used to be rank in the earlier versions of Excel. Now they are using this. And we are saying that take the expectations first value and comma. This is basically, actually, you know what, let's do this. Let's redo it. So I can show. Okay. Now, what are we going to do here is you get this rank EQ. Okay. So as you can see from here, first one is the number. So which one do you want to do this for? You're gonna do this because the expectation is going to be Y rank, the Y level in the graph. I'm gonna show it to you in a minute. Then comma. So we are going to look into what? We are going to look into all in the expectation results. What are we trying to say here is, I want you to look at the value, like in this case is C3, and look all the values in there and rank among them. Okay? And if it is, basically the last one is after the comma is, do you want the descending or ascending order? We want an ascending order. Now, one thing I want you to be careful with. If we do this, and actually let me show you the error. So if we do this without doing any modification, see, like for example, the C3, the C24 is the all expectation values, right? If you go there, next one is going to be C4 to C25 is automatically adjust. But we want this C3 to C24 is the same for all of them. So what we do here, we go to C3, C4, hit the F4, okay? Come here, hit the F4. Now we are telling the Excel, don't change the C3 to C24 for our ranking. Now if you do this, you go here for look at, like for example, this is going to be looking at this value but still under the C3 C24. Now we do this, the next step is going to be ranking the X, which is the, of course, perception. So we did the exactly same thing, same approach. We also calculated this. You don't have to do this, I just added. What we did here is, there is a 22 questions, right? 22 values, sort of 1 through 22, basically, for the ranking. So 11 is the middle level, right? So if it's 11 and less, is going to be like, if you look at this graph here, right? Low importance to high importance. So this level is going to be around 11 here. So that's what I just tell the Excel. Like for example, if this value, which is the Y ranking basically for the importance, if it's 12 or higher, put a higher importance. If it's the 11 or less is basically for the lower importance. Now, you don't really have to do this. And also, I'm going to give you an example on the graph. But for example, if the point is here and the other point is here, there is not much difference, right? So you have to use some judgment here. Now, the next step is you need to create a graph, okay? this graph is from low importance to high importance and poor service to good service. Now, this is from 1 through 12, and this is from 1 through 12 because we have a 22 ranking in our system. Now, what is exactly that means? There is a 4 quadrant in this graph. So if ranking, for in this case, for example, Q5. So where is the Q5? This one. Okay. 21. So Y is 21. You go to Y. And X is 19. X is 19. So this is the Q5, right? We find basically what it says here, 21 to 19. So in this quadrant, customers expect more. They put more importance to do whatever it is. Like, for example, in this case, when the hotel promised to provide a service at a certain time, it will do so. So they expect, if you think you're gonna do in the, like, we're gonna do check-in, I'm just making up, you're gonna do check-in in 10 minutes. If it's in 10 minutes, they expect to do in 10 minutes and they put high importance on that. Now, if you look at here, and it says high expectations and great service. This, if your value, any kind of this value, you make this for all of them, like Q1, 14, 3, right? You got 14, Y, 3 in X. Actually, it should be a little bit here, but in this area, then you make this all those questions and you can put around all the quadrants. Now, if you look at this quadrants, let's go one by one actually, without the, I don't want to create confusion. Now, in this quadrant, they expect more, but they also get more. So you need to keep up the good work. If your items, when you do all the questions, is here in this area, it's good. Of course, you have to understand once again, this is the highest point, right? 22 by 22. If it's closer to here, you have to be careful. You have to be able to differentiate point here versus point here, because just sits in this quarter doesn't mean, yes, you are doing an excellent job. Because closer to you got this center area, that's mean possibility of going the other quadrants. So you have to be always careful on that. Now let's look at the other quadrants, right? So this is the one of the quadrants. Now another one is, they do low expectations, but you provide great service. I mean, they don't expect really much, but you provide an excellent service anyway. So doing is great, but not that important for guests. So you have to consider your return on investment. Does it really worth the... That doesn't mean you are going to eliminate right away, but you need to really think about it. If I really want to, especially if it's a very costly, do I really want to continue to doing that? Because they don't really expect that. You are just providing that additional. Now, if you look at here, this is the one of the most important part, of course. And I'm sorry, this is actually one of the most important part, but let's talk about this one first. They also have a low expectations, but you have a poor service. I mean, it's not very important to people, but there is a room for improvement. It's not very important to people, doesn't mean you're gonna provide the poor service. Now, this is the most important part, okay? I mean, Q1 is actually closer to low importance, but still, especially if it's this area, like, you know, around here somewhere, that has become a very, I mean, they really put high importance in that. They expect a very, whatever they want, but they have a very poor service. Okay, so the idea here is, after you do this surveys, what do they expect? What do they perceive? You calculate the results, gaps, you create the ranks, then you put in your graph to see which one I should prioritize, right? So as you can see, if there are things is closer to this area, especially, I mean, all the quadrant is yes, but especially in this area, you have to be sure this is a high priority. You need to improve it. So let me talk just a little bit in each of the points. Now, like for example, question 1 was modern looking and high quality facilities were expected, 4.71. But the perception was 4.44, fell short, indicating poor service. The hotel physical appearance exceed expectation, 3.62 expected versus 4.09 perceived. But it is a lower importance, suggests that it had a little impact on overall satisfaction. Question 3, staff professionalism and grooming were slightly better than expected, but the service is still categorized as poor, suggesting other factors influence guest satisfaction. Materials and amenities exceed expectations, 3.54 to versus 4.14, but their lower importance mean they don't significantly impact the overall service perception. Number 5 was timelines of promised service was close to expectation, resulting in better service rating. And we can go in each, but I guess you are starting to get in the idea. You go in the each and try to see which one you wanna be sure that you have to be fix it right away, in a sense. Like they prioritize, they put very high importance, and you are doing a poor service. So that's what the SERVQual is about. So I hope it helped a little bit. Thank you.